How are you, Paul?
I'm doing real well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. You all have a brand new album out. I think the first album, studio album, that you've done in almost 10 years, called Let It Roll. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about it, what went into making it.
Well, first of all, it was kind of a big decision to put the band back together. It kind of came about by a jam session, an informal jam session that we had almost 2.5 years ago. And during that jam session, everybody realized how much fun we had playing together and how long it's been since we had. And we didn't actually leave the jam session thinking that we were going to get back together, but it just kind of planted the seed. And what became of that was that we started asking around to see if it would be feasible to actually put the band back together. And according to a lot of our friends and business associates, they all thought it was a good idea. So we put the band back together with the 5 remaining members, and then we added Fred Tackett, a wonderful guitarist and mandolin player and trumpet, and he's just multi-talented. And he had been on the road with Billy playing with Bob Seger, so we added him on guitar, and then we got Craig Fuller from the Pure Prairie League to join us on vocals. And from there, Fred and Craig and Billy Payne and myself got together and wrote nearly 14 songs and cut a few demos of them, just really informally on a little 8-track machine, and sent them over to some people at Warner Brothers, and they got real excited about it. From there, we went into the studio in February and cut the album in 3 months' time. Had, some old friends, Bonnie Raitt and Linda Ronstadt and Bob Seger and Marilyn Martin and Renee Armand come down and sing some backgrounds with us, and the whole thing just has really come together so easily and not without some effort, but it's just been a real pleasure.
I understand that Hate to Lose Your Lovin' was written a long time ago.
It was written, we had actually sat down and wrote the basis for that song back in 1978. And once we had gotten back together again, we kind of finished it off and did an arrangement on it. And it's really the song that made Warner Brothers sit up and take notice and say, yes, these people do sound like Little Feat again. So.
What is the response as far as how you're being received on your tour right now?
The tour has been absolutely great. The shows have been selling out. The fans have been just fantastic, and much to our surprise, there's a whole new generation of fans out there who had to be 10, 11 years old when the band broke up, because there's a lot of youngsters out there who know all the lyrics to all the old songs, and it's just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. This is WMDM FM. I'm Thomas, and my guest via telephone is Warner Brothers recording artist and member of Little Feat, Paul Barrère. Paul, the #1 song on the AOR charts this week is Hate to Lose Your Lovin'. I'm sure you're ecstatic about that.
It's really amazing. Little Feat had never had such great response from radio before. I think it's due in part to the fact that music has come full cycle again, and we have great artists like the Thunderbirds and Robert Cray and the Georgia Satellites who are playing the roots-oriented rock and roll again. And to have a song jump up to the #1 spot on the AOR airplay charts is just fantastic. The album, as a matter of fact, has moved up to the #1 spot in the album network as well, which is, we're just beside ourselves. It's just going so well. It's great.
That is great. Our featured album tonight is Let It Roll by Little Feat. Paul, how did you get Linda and Bonnie and all of them interested in coming aboard and doing another album with you?
Well, it wasn't really hard, to tell you the truth. They were really glad to see the band back together again. And so we knew that we would want to get participation from some of our old friends. So it just basically took a phone call to say, here, we have a song that we think your voice would be wonderful on, and they were more than obliging to come down and work.
Do you have a favorite tune on the LP, Paul?
Oh, I love them all, to tell you the truth. But, I guess this week my favorite would be Changin' Luck, which is a tune I had absolutely nothing to do with as far as writing, but I just love the way it goes, the music in it and the vocals and so forth. It's just, it's real catchy as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let's listen to that and come back and talk some more. This is WMDM FM. Our guest via telephone is Paul Barrère, member of Little Feat. Paul, as we said before, the magic's still there. It's good to hear feet boogieing again. And when I think of the title cut, it's been compared to Teenage Nervous Breakdown. What are your comments about that?
Well, I think that's nice. We wanted to be true to form when we wrote the material. We had 9 albums to compare all the new songs with. We knew that if we couldn't come up with material that was equal to or better than, then the project wouldn't fly at all. So to get compared to some of the music of the past is just it's great. It means that we're right on line.
Mm-hmm. You definitely are. What future projects do you have coming up?
Well, we have an extended tour schedule going. As you know, we'll be in Washington, D.C. in October. I believe we're doing 5 shows there.
At the Warner?
At the Warner Theater. And that's basically right in the middle of the second leg of the tour. And at the end of that tour, we'll wind up mid-November down in Florida. And right from Florida, we'll fly to Europe and tour about a month through Europe. Then we'll take the holidays off and then start up again in January and February down in Australia, New Zealand, Japan. You know, continue the worldwide aspect of the tour. Then come back and in the springtime go right back out again and tour the United States a couple more times.
Let me ask you this. Is there any music that's out currently on the charts that's grabbing you or that you're interested in that you listen to?
Well, I love Stevie Winwood's new album. It's just fantastic. Again, it's music that reminds me of the old Stevie Winwood and
Spencer Davis.
And did the Back in the High Life again. It's you know, I think it's a fantastic piece of work.
It is, and it's good to see a guy from the 60s get up there to the #1 spot again.
Oh yeah, it's just amazing, you know. And as far as other current music, I'm really not well versed in that because I haven't had a whole lot of time to listen to radio. We on the bus tend to play a lot of old music. Well, it's not even that old. We play a lot of Paul Simon's Graceland album, which is a great album. We get into a lot of old jazz, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. That it's a quirk of ours, I guess, not to listen to current music so that we don't wind up sounding like other people.
There's a song on the new album, Cajun Girl, which has like a Zydeco flavor to it.
Yeah.
Did you all plan that?
Oh yes. Yeah, we've had things like that before. There's a tune, 6 Feet of Snow, that was on the Down the Farm album that had a similar kind of rhythm to it, but we didn't actually put a Zydeco breakdown in it. So we more or less stayed pretty true to form. Zydeco music, I'm glad to say, is making a splash. What with Buckwheat Zydeco and Queen Ida and the Bon Ton Relay Band. It's just a good time music. It's hard to call it rock and roll, but if you ever see people down in Lafayette, Louisiana dancing, you'd swear it was rock and roll.
And while I have you on the phone, we'd like to congratulate you on your marriage, Paul.
Well, thank you very much.
Who was the lucky lady?
Her name was Pam Rule. Now it's Pamela Barrère. She's a wonderful lady. She's a travel agent for Columbia Pictures and another native Los Angeles person. So, yeah.
Also, one other question. Another song on Let It Roll, Hanging On to the Good Times, kind of sums it up, doesn't it?
It does. We wanted to have a song that would reflect from day one to the present day. And that kind of does it. It's kind of an autobiographical story that is told there. We were actually rained out of an indoor show in New Orleans once. I won't tell you about who went to Lucky Pierre's, but that actually happened as well. And we just, over the past 10 years, not being with Little Feat, we had all played with different personnel and different bands and different organizations. And whenever your name was announced, there would be the shouts of feet, feet, feet coming from the audience. So it was it's truly wonderful that people remember all those years and still give you that recognition. So it's kind of a tribute not only to us, but to all our fans.
Paul, once again, good luck from all of us here in Lexington Park.
We thank you.
And we hope to see you in October.
Trying to find just the right. We were fighting good time.